Good afternoon and welcome to Eagle Mom Squad videos. Today we're going to be talking about contrasting and comparing homeschooling versus public school. Now, when I put this together, I had a whole list of what is different about public schools versus homeschooling. And I only had two similarities for the things that how they were similar. So let me just start with the things in which they're similar. First of all, both ways, your child is going to get an education, okay? Your child's going to learn how to read, write, do math, they're gonna learn history, they're gonna learn science, they're gonna get physical activity, they're gonna have friends, okay? That's both ways. The other thing that's gonna be similar is that they're gonna have a teacher that wants to teach them. I firmly believe that about schools and about teachers, that the teachers are really there because they love teaching and they love your student. Parents do too. Homeschool parents love their children, and they'll learn to love teaching too, especially when they start learning stuff on their own as well. So the instructors really do care about your child, whether they're going to be homeschooled or whether they're going to be in a brick and mortar school. So let's just get that out of the way. Those are the two similarities that I found. Okay, so now what's the difference? Okay, clearly, if you're homeschooling, it's very individualized learning that the child is going to be getting versus in a classroom setting where, there's lots of kids, 15, 20, 25, 30 kids. You've got to admit that that's awfully hard on a teacher, even if they have one or two aides, to get to all the kids, whereas at home, there's only at most, a few kids that a parent has to teach. And then it doesn't have to be all at the exact same time. It can be spread out throughout the day in all different ways. Okay, so another difference is that in school, a child will be getting a variety of teachers, especially in high school, right? So you have the music teacher, the English teacher, the math teacher. Well, at home, all those teachers are one person. Unless, of course, you're using a co-op or a tutorial, in which you probably will have a couple different teachers, okay? But generally speaking, there's one or two teachers for your children at home versus a variety of teachers in a public or private school setting. Okay, here's another difference. When your child goes to school and the teacher says, turn in your math test now, the child has to turn in their math test now. Whereas at home, sometimes those deadlines can be a little wishy-washy, depending on the parent. Or the child may say, oh, Mom, I don't want to turn in the book report today. Can I do it tomorrow? And so the child starts learning how to bend the deadlines a little bit. Whereas in school, they're a little more firm. So that would be a difference. Okay, here's another difference. Your child going to school will be encountering people of all different backgrounds all day long. Whereas if they're at home, it's pretty homogeneous, right? So that can be a positive or negative depending upon your outlook. But that's definitely a difference. Another difference would be in school, there's a lot of peer pressure. We grew up in school. I grew up in school, public school. I know there was peer pressure. You might have done the same thing. There's pressure. I would argue that there are even more pressures now, thanks to the internet and social media. Whereas if they're home, they encounter far less, if any, peer pressure. Okay? So think about those. Think about those differences. Another difference that I don't think is a good thing is that when they're at school, they're consistently interacting with people around their age, okay? Whereas if they're homeschooling, especially if they're in a homeschool group, they're interacting with people of various ages all the time, and even in home. Johnny may have a little sister that he's interacting with all day long, versus just the little hours that he's at home at night or on the weekends. So all day long, Johnny and his little sister are interacting, and chances are there might be more kids in the home I'd like to think that there are more kids in the home than just the one, but sometimes there's not. But inevitably, all day long, all the different ages are interacting versus at school, where they're just pretty homogeneous when it comes to the age group. Okay, another difference is in a classroom setting. From what I understand, public school or private school teachers, a lot of teaching, getting that certification for teaching is learning how to manage the classroom versus actually teaching. So what that means is there's lots of distractions going on in the classroom. All different things. I don't even want to venture a guess at what the teachers have to put up with. Well, if Johnny is not the one who's distracting the teacher and the rest of the school kids, Johnny, who may want to learn, is not able to learn at that time because the teacher is paying attention to the management of the classroom. When you don't have those issues at home, yes, there are some distractions, but Johnny can just pick up his work and go to the next room if he needs to. Or Johnny can just put on earphones if he needs to. Or Johnny can just go in a different, go outside if he needs to learn without some distractions. So that's not the case with a schoolroom setting. So, I think that is a benefit or a benefit to homeschooling. Okay. What else do we have here? Of course, you have the school sports, school clubs, and extracurricular activities. The child in school, private or public, has tremendous access to all those things, and that's a really good thing. Homeschoolers, not so much, although there's a whole lot more going on in the community now for homeschoolers during the day than there was even when I started homeschooling 15 years ago. So, again, pluses and minuses. You have to think that one through. I know in Pennsylvania, where I live, our homeschool children have had access to extracurricular activities at the school and sports. Whereas in Maryland, they don't have those access. They don't have that access. So you have to find out what's allowed and what's not allowed in your state, because every state is different. Okay, so another difference is in a homeschool environment, the parent gets to choose what the curriculum's going to look like. Whereas in a private or public school environment, it gets dictated by the school system. So, the whole Common Core thing, I have not heard one good thing about Common Core from either parents or teachers, and yet it has to be taught. Homeschoolers don't have to abide by that. We can pick the curriculum that works for our kids and our child's way of learning, and that's not the case for public or private schoolers. So, think about that. Budgets. Public schools have a tremendous budget. I know they say they don't, but they have a far bigger budget for teaching kids than homeschoolers do. And so that enables them to have a greater variety of resources out there, field trips, all sorts of things. Homeschoolers tend to be one-income families, not all the time. They just tend to be that way. So they have more of a limited budget, but they get more creative, with the way they're going to teach. Okay, and finally, I want to just say that while another difference is public or private school teachers have lots of distractions outside of the classroom. A lot of paperwork needs to be done. So that can pull away from their focus on teaching your child. How are they going to teach your child tomorrow? They may have less of a focus on how they're going to do that than getting their paperwork done for the district. Whereas in homeschooling, yes, mom or dad still has to do all the household activities. They have to pay the bills, they have to cook, they have to, or at least figure out how they're going to feed their children. They have to get them to places. But all that while, the kid is not, he's not zoning out, he's learning. He's learning how to run a household. I remember years ago I saw a list of items all kids should learn how to do by the time they're 13. And I started going down that list and making sure that all my kids knew how to do those things, like how to cook a meal, how to pay a bill. Goodness gracious, I can't remember anymore. It's just part of the learning that goes on all the time in a home. And I have to say, my kids who are in college and now out of college, they know how to cook. You know, they're not reliant on takeout food, restaurant food, frozen dinners. That's just one of the things. They know how to do their laundry. They had to teach some classmates how to do their laundry when they were in college, how to keep their room clean, how to clean a bathroom. So while teachers in a public or private school may be distracted by things that the kids don't see, that prevents the teacher from coming to school really well prepared and learning how to, figuring out how to teach your child best. Moms and dads are teaching as they're doing, in a homeschool environment. So I hope I've given you some food for thought. It's definitely a lifestyle choice, and I think there are differences that are valid differences, and you can say that they're good or they're bad, what have you. But if you like what you see that we're teaching on our YouTube videos, and you want to see more content, just go ahead and like or subscribe to our channel. We have different links in the description to our website, our Eagle Mom Squad website, and our Facebook page. So go ahead and check them out. I hope you have a great day. Thanks.